I'd like to welcome you all here. Um, Pleasant weather, not quite sunshining, but we don't have the white stuff to shove around, so anytime in late November that we don't have snow or ice, that's a good thing. I want to begin this morning with Chief Kevin Martin. He has a team of folks that he wants to introduce who have been working on the issue of body cameras for the police department, and we have a report and a project that's come up. Chief?
Well, good morning. As probably most everyone knows, body cameras has been a big topic within the law enforcement community for the last couple of years. And many departments jumped right into body cameras without really thinking things through, and they ran into a lot of issues and problems with their programs, which has been demonstrated through numerous news articles in various publications. Three such examples I brought with me today. One is from May of last year in the International Business Times. That outlined a number of departments that had to scrap their body camera programs because they didn't have the funds to maintain them. Another one from just November of last year from the Columbus Dispatch. It spoke about the hidden cost that were associated with the public records issues and the number of new personnel that the Columbus Police Department had to hire in order to make sure that they were able to maintain compliance with public records law with the new data that was being collected. And then the last example I brought with me is one from govtech.com. That was an article that was specific to privacy rights issues for victims, witnesses, and other people that are captured by the body cameras, and how that's created problems in various departments and locations throughout the nation. And so the Lima Police Department did not want to create our own mistakes. We were hoping that we could take a more methodical approach to the issue of body cameras in order to try to work through some of those problems and frankly to learn from the mistakes that other departments have made throughout the country in order to be able to better serve our public, while at the same time creating a greater level of transparency and a greater level of checks and balance on the police department. Because obviously every community's got a right to expect transparency from their police department, and they've got a right to expect checks and balances. No one wants to live in a police state. I know I certainly don't. And so, body cameras is another tool that modern technology has made available to us to be able to help to ensure that happens. But we don't want to solve our issues or problems at the expense of innocent people, nor at the expense of being overly burdensome to the taxpayers. So that's why we have taken that very methodical approach. And the member of the Lima Police Department who actually volunteered to oversee this whole project is Major Jim Baker. So I would like to actually introduce him at this time, and I'm going to let him inform the public as to where we are at with this project.
That's very nice, Chief, because I don't remember volunteering for that, but I'm sure I just don't recall that. So, but I do appreciate that. As the Chief said, it's been a very methodical, very deliberate process because of those issues that he just mentioned. And another one not too long ago in Chillicothe, the Chillicothe Police Department immediately went out and got a bunch of body cameras, and they immediately started failing, and then they had to go and get new body cameras, and it's just been a process. So we just wanted to proceed deliberate, methodical, and carefully, and just want to give you a quick timeline to where we're at and what brings us here today. Back in March, we put together an advisory committee to start looking at policy because, again, it affects everybody. And we were extremely fortunate to have a number of groups, a number of people help us out, and some of them are here with us today. We had the city schools, representatives from the city schools, representatives from the hospitals. We also have Crime Victim Services, the Black Ministerial Alliance, the NAACP, and then also our officers. And if they would feel inclined to, I wanted to give them a moment to add into the process and maybe say who they are. But back in March, we began that process of putting together a draft policy. We finally put together what we felt was a very good, solid draft policy. And in the middle of that, while we were doing that, we were testing some different cameras in a small way, and which brings us to this point now. We believe that we found a very good, very solid camera made by Vista. It's a WatchGuard camera. And we are looking at doing a 4-week pilot project where we're going to really in-depth study the use of these. We'll be given 6 cameras. We'll have 2 on each shift for officers to use, so we can really put them through the paces and see if they're going to meet the needs that we have. And at the end of that 4-week process, we'll look at the data. We have some surveys that are going to be going out, and then we're going to make our recommendation to write a check to get the equipment that we need. So with that being said, if there was anyone that would like to say anything about the process that we've been going through, and if you could just identify yourself, because we are live streaming this.
I'm Pastor Clevin Jones from the Shiloh Baptist Church. I'm representing the Lima Area Black Minister Alliance. A couple of years ago, we did enter into discussions with the city and about the concern about the Lima Police Department having body cameras, and we are just glad to see that as an end result that they are bringing this to fruition. They're going to start a pilot program for 4 weeks. We do hear the chief's concerns about some of the issues that were kind of delayed the process somewhat, but we're just glad to see that the chief and Major Berger and his staff has brought this program to where it is today. I think it'll be a great help for the community and for the police department as well. Thank you again, Major Berger.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Anybody else?
David Voth with Crime Victim Services. Almost a year ago, I brought a 2-page list of concerns that I had regarding crime victims, and I'm really pleased with the deliberate and careful process that this group and the department has gone through, and I'm very happy with the resulting policy, which may still get changed depending on what we learn from the 4-week trial. But my real concern is not what comes out of Lima, but what comes out of the courts and the legislature, because once a recording is done, if a court or legislature says that that's going to have to be a public record, then all of the careful work that we've done here will be superseded, and maybe some of the rights and privacy issues of crime victims will be obliterated by those acts. So I'm happy with everything that's going on here in Lima. I'm glad to be a part of the process. My real concern is what's going to happen outside of our area. Thanks.
Hello, my name is James Smith, and I'm just a concerned citizen of the community. And the chief and the major, they asked me if I wanted to sit in and be on the policy committee to form a policy for the Lima police officers wearing body cameras, and I said I would. And so we sat around and formed the policy, and we had an outline of a policy from the city of Cleveland, Ohio, and we used that as a template. And we thought that was a pretty good way to go about forming Lima Police Department template. And that was such a big policy that they had in Cleveland, and it was orchestrated from the Department of Justice. So what we did was just kind of tweaked it towards the city of Lima, because we're a much smaller police department, and we tried to get our policy together so we can get our policemen wearing body cameras. But I think that's going to be real good and show a lot of transparency. But I don't think that's going to be the end all of the community saying that, hey, this is on camera, because it goes much deeper than just a camera, a picture. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yep. Nick.
Sergeant Nick Hart. I've been researching the body cameras for quite some time. This particular model that you'll see, I don't know if everybody can see the podium, I'm pretty short. So, but this is the particular model that officers you'll see are wearing through our pilot program. I guess one of the most important things I can think of, just to remind everybody, is we are tweaking this program. We want to do this right. We want this to be the best option for the city of Lima and for the citizens. So if things are taking a little longer than people believe they should, or things of that nature, just know it's because we're trying to be careful. We have to, evaluate victims' rights. We have to evaluate, the way things need to be done with officers for training and safety purposes. And it's a long, slow process, but hopefully we can come very close to perfecting it. And, you know, the sooner the better that we can continue the transparency processes with the city.
At the end of the pilot program, we will be back to share how it went and with the results and let you guys know how that went. All right, Mayor?
Thank you all. I appreciate the efforts that have gone into this. I want to emphasize my perspective on this ratifies the concern for both the costs, not just the upfront purchase, but the long-term operating costs of the program. We've had wildly ranging cost estimates that have been some in the 5 figures, but some in the very sizable 6-figure numbers on an annualized basis. That sort of cost is not something that the city is prepared to undertake. And so we have to be careful about exactly what this is going to entail from a cost management standpoint. More importantly, frankly, is what David Voth was emphasizing. Ohio's public records law, as they currently exist, in my opinion, do not provide the kind of protection that's necessary for victims. This is going to require, for the long term, that the state legislature steps up and creates special exemptions for communities, for police departments, to be able to keep privacy issues private. And the bottom line is, if we have a rape victim, if this is your wife or this is your child who's in a house, who's being, the officers come in, they discover a circumstance, they're intervening, that is on video. And at some point, that kind of circumstance could leak into YouTube. Once it's out there forever. So the caution that is being exercised here, I think, is entirely appropriate. And the Ohio Mayor's Alliance has been also working on this issue to make sure that this issue of privacy gets dealt with by the state legislature. We're going to continue to work on that. I will encourage the Lima Police Department to adopt policies that exercise the greatest of caution around this issue. And if we have to battle it out in court at points, we will, in order to make sure that victims, in fact, are assured that we're going to treat them properly. So I appreciate the work that's gone into this, and we'll be working it through in coming weeks and months, and I'm sure the chief and the majors will make efforts to keep everybody apprised. So. This morning as well, we have guests here from St. Rita's. I want to invite up Tracy Cox for an announcement about a special scholarship program.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to announce our new scholarship program for high school seniors graduating in the spring of 2017. 10 $1,500 scholarships have been committed to the Mercy Health St. Rita's Health Partners Scholarship Initiative, as we strive to benefit those future medical professionals who live in our community and region. Students in Allen, Auglaize, Hardin, Hancock, Logan, Mercer, Putnam, Paulding, Shelby, and Van Wert counties are invited to apply. Applications have been mailed and emailed to more than 70 high schools and career centers. Through this program, we seek to support future health professionals in their education and training, including associates, bachelor's, master's, and professional degrees. It is our hope that through a connection with Mercy Health, St. Rita's, that they will consider staying in or returning to the community to practice once their education and training is complete. To be considered, students must submit the Mercy Health St. Rita's Health Partners Scholarship application, an official high school transcript, and a 1 to 2 page essay. The topic for the essay is, why do you believe that this is what you were meant to do? We encourage students to strongly reflect on their decision to pursue a career of service through healthcare. At St. Rita's, we strive to support our employees so that they may reach their highest potential, and hope that initiatives like this new scholarship program, will allow us to have students reach their full potential. The deadline for submission of all application materials is Friday, February 14th at 4 p.m. A selection committee will review each application, and scholarship winners will be notified by the end of March. A database of all applicants will be kept on file, and students will be notified regarding connection opportunities, including conferences, symposiums, and medical student loan programs. Obtain an application from your school counselor or by contacting me at trcox@mercy.com or 419-995-4947. Thank you.
The deadline date again was what?
It is Friday, April 24th at 4 p.m. Oh, excuse me. Yes, February. Sorry. I apologize. Yes, February 24th.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good, thanks. Well, that's an exciting opportunity. I have two sisters that are nurses, so I know how important that career choice was for them. And it really is not just a career, it's a vocation. And I think that's what you're talking about with the essay that you're describing. So we want to encourage both men and women to consider the opportunity in nursing. So thank you. Also, several weeks ago, I had the opportunity to introduce Sharetta Smith, who I was hoping to have join me as the city's chief of staff. She actually arrived on the job last Friday, suffered through the first day, and came back on Monday morning, much to my genuine, pleasurable surprise. So it's good to have her here. She has a couple of announcements. Sharetta?
Good morning. Thank you, Mayor Berger. Two things on the agenda this morning. This Friday, January the 27th, will mark the 11th anniversary of the Earned Income Tax Credit Awareness Day. This is a federal program that was started by the IRS about 11 years ago. The reason being is because every year there are billions of dollars that are left out on the table for people that don't correctly take the Earned Income Tax Credit. Last year in the state of Ohio, 26 million workers received $65.6 billion in earned income tax credit refunds. And in the state of Ohio, there were 939,000 workers that received $2.3 billion in earned income tax credit refunds. So basically, the guidelines change every year for earned income tax credit. And the IRS has a tool on their website called the EITC Assistant that individuals can go to determine, number one, if they're eligible for the earned income tax credit, and also what their a estimated refund would be based on that information that they put in. Also, there are sites here in the city if you need assistance with preparing your income tax refunds that can also help you with getting that credit. And those two sites are the Superior Credit Union and also Ohio Northern University. The Superior Credit Union are setting up appointments from February the 2nd to March 18th, and you can get an appointment with them by calling 419-879-4864. And Ohio Northern University will have a similar program from February 15th to April 6th, and you can schedule an appointment with them by calling 419-772-2075. The second item that I have to discuss today is that it has been rumored that the Trump administration plans to issue federal legislation against cities that have been determined to be what's called sanctuary cities. This is of concern to Lima, the city of Lima, for two reasons. Number one, that threatened legislation comes with a threat to cut federal funding that we do depend on here in the city, namely community block grant funds. In addition to that, Lima has been rumored to be a sanctuary city, and Lima has been placed on such lists as sanctuary cities. However, we are not a sanctuary city. That term is actually a colloquial term that had been created in the 1980s, used for communities that came out and did certain legislation in opposition to federal immigration laws. Here in the city, our Lima Police Department, and Chief Martin will come up and talk with you as well, but the Lima Police Department follows federal immigration laws, and City Council nor any other legislation has been enacted here in the city that would be in opposition to federal immigration laws. So we're on top of this issue. We'll keep you all posted, but we are not a sanctuary city. Chief Martin.
Thank you again. Yes, as the Mayor's Chief of Staff has said, Lima is not a sanctuary city, as many people have called and asked me about as well. And I'm not sure exactly how that rumor got started, but the Lima Police Department's policy has always been and continues to be that if we have contact with someone who's engaged in a crime and we find reason to believe that they are in this country illegally, we notify ICE, and if ICE then puts a holder on the person will remain in custody until ICE is able to come and pick them up. We do not condone any type of illegal activity, whether it's on the state, local, or federal level. So just if anyone has any questions about that, I'll be more than happy to speak further about the processes that we use, but we do not engage in sanctuary city practices.
Thank you, Chief Martin.
Thank you. I believe that's all that we have for this morning, so appreciate everybody's attendance, and we'll break down for interviews. Thank you very much.